And that separates people. So they keep people separated, and that keeps them from thinking about the real problem. That's as simple as I see it.
Richard Pryor emerged as comedy's most revolutionary voice, shattering entertainment industry conventions through fearless social commentary and uncompromising honesty about American racial dynamics. His transformation from sanitized nightclub performer to groundbreaking storyteller redefined what comedy could accomplish, elevating the medium from simple entertainment into powerful cultural critique that challenged audiences and establishment alike. Pryor's journey through Hollywood's corridors exposed the industry's deep-seated prejudices and commercial calculations that favored comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths. His refusal to soften his material for mainstream consumption created constant friction with performers who prioritized career advancement over artistic authenticity, leading to explosive confrontations that revealed fundamental philosophical divisions about entertainment's social responsibility. The comedian's volcanic temperament and addiction struggles amplified these conflicts, transforming professional disagreements into personal warfare between competing visions of success and artistic purpose. Pryor's encounters with certain actors crystallized his contempt for performers who enjoyed privileges he was systematically denied, while simultaneously appropriating elements of Black culture for commercial gain. These weren't casual show business disputes between temperamental celebrities, but ideological battles that reflected broader tensions within an entertainment system designed to marginalize voices like Pryor's, while rewarding those who reinforced existing power structures. His hatred for 6 particular actors stemmed from their representation of everything hypocritical and exploitative about an industry that simultaneously celebrated and constrained his revolutionary talent while elevating lesser performers who posed no threat to comfortable assumptions. 6. Gene Wilder. The partnership between Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder in films like Silver Streak and Stir Crazy appeared to audiences as perfect comedic chemistry. Yet behind the cameras existed a simmering resentment that exposed deep cultural and class divisions between the two performers. Wilder's protected upbringing and theatrical training contrasted sharply with Pryor's survival-forged street wisdom, creating tension that went far beyond simple creative differences.
Over today, I talked to her, she was real nice.
Yeah.
But I don't know how people can just write up a lie.
Pryor increasingly resented Wilder's ability to navigate Hollywood's power structures with ease while maintaining his reputation as a sensitive artist. Gene could play the innocent fool because he'd never experienced real danger, Pryor confided to friends. The dynamic positioned Wilder as the sympathetic everyman, while Pryor became the exotic sidekick, a racial hierarchy that frustrated his desire for equal dramatic weight. Their collaborative process revealed fundamental disagreements about comedic authenticity and social responsibility. Wilder's comfort with formulaic studio requirements conflicted with Pryor's need to inject genuine social observation into their shared material. Richard wanted to expose the truth, while Gene wanted to entertain safely, observed director Arthur Hiller. The financial arrangements further inflamed Pryor's resentment, as Wilder's established star status secured better compensation and creative control, despite Pryor's superior comedic instincts. Their public friendship masked private frustrations about industry politics that consistently favored Wilder's palatable approach over Pryor's revolutionary potential. The relationship deteriorated when Pryor recognized that their collaborations were being marketed to emphasize Wilder's appeal to white audiences, while minimizing his own cultural significance, reducing him to a colorful accessory in what should have been equal partnerships. 5. Eddie Murphy. The meteoric ascent of Eddie Murphy during the early 1980s created a generational rivalry that cut to the heart of Richard Pryor's insecurities about his legacy and relevance in rapidly changing entertainment landscape. Murphy's youth, commercial appeal, and studio backing represented everything Pryor had been denied during his own breakthrough years, fostering resentment that transcended simple professional competition.
Trying to have that black voice that some whites try to do, that really don't do well.
Pryor watched with growing bitterness as Murphy effortlessly secured major film roles and lucrative contracts that had eluded him throughout decades of struggle. Eddie got the red carpet treatment that Richard had to fight for every inch, observed comedian Paul Mooney. The younger performer's immediate acceptance into Hollywood's elite circles highlighted the discrimination Pryor had endured while paving the way for Murphy's success. The philosophical divide deepened over their approaches to racial material and mainstream palatability. Murphy's willingness to tone down controversial content for broader audience appeal conflicted with Pryor's commitment to unfiltered social commentary. Richard saw Eddie as selling out everything he'd fought to establish, revealed stand-up comedian Red Fox. Pryor's private criticisms of Murphy's safe comedy approach masked deeper fears about being replaced by a more commercially viable version of his own revolutionary persona, creating lasting animosity that prevented any meaningful professional collaboration or personal reconciliation between comedy's most influential Black voices. 4. Bill Cosby. The ideological warfare between Richard Pryor and Bill Cosby represented one of comedy's most fundamental philosophical divides, pitting raw authenticity against calculated respectability in ways that would define Black entertainment for generations. Cosby's family-friendly persona and deliberate avoidance of racial controversy stood in direct opposition to Pryor's unflinching examination of American racism and social hypocrisy.
I remember my father used to say that. We all have an opinion and an...
Pryor viewed Cosby's sanitized approach as betrayal of Black experience, arguing that comedy should confront uncomfortable truths rather than provide comforting escapism for white audiences. Bill wanted to be America's dad, while Richard wanted to be America's conscience, observed comedian Dick Gregory. Their competing visions of Black representation created professional tensions that spilled into public forums and industry gatherings. The conflict intensified when Cosby achieved mainstream success and cultural influence that Pryor felt should reward more honest artistic voices. Cosby's educational background and middle-class appeal made him palatable to network executives who remained uncomfortable with Pryor's street-level observations about poverty, addiction, and systemic oppression. Richard knew that Bill's success came from telling white folks what they wanted to hear, revealed Pryor's longtime friend Jim Brown. Their personal animosity peaked when Cosby publicly criticized Pryor's profanity and drug references as damaging to Black community image. Pryor responded with contempt for Cosby's Uncle Tom approach to entertainment, viewing his respectability politics as collaboration with the same forces that marginalized authentic Black voices. The rivalry embodied larger tensions about progress and representation, with each comedian believing his approach offered the better path forward for Black artists, while fundamentally misunderstanding the other's motivations and cultural significance. 3. Chevy Chase. The collision between Richard Pryor's street-forged authenticity and Chevy Chase's privileged arrogance during the Saturday Night Live era created one of entertainment's most toxic professional relationships. Chase's condescending attitude and casual racism triggered Pryor's deepest resentments about Hollywood's tolerance for white mediocrity while demanding perfection from Black performers.
To have that Black voice that some whites try to do, that really don't do well.
Their initial encounter during Pryor's controversial 1975 hosting stint revealed Chase's complete inability to comprehend the cultural significance of Pryor's groundbreaking comedy. Chevy treated Richard like hired entertainment instead of a revolutionary artist, recalled SNL writer Alan Zweibel. Chase's dismissive behavior toward Pryor's social commentary exposed the shallow liberal facade that characterized much of white comedy establishment. The hostility escalated when Chase's smug persona and unearned confidence contrasted sharply with Pryor's hard-won success and genuine talent. Pryor recognized in Chase everything he despised about privileged performers who coasted on connections and conventional attractiveness while lacking authentic comedic insight. Richard saw through Chevy's fake charm immediately, observed comedian Garrett Morris. Their few professional interactions became exercises in mutual contempt, with Chase's tone-deaf attempts at racial humor infuriating Pryor's sense of cultural dignity. The younger performer's inability to acknowledge his own limitations while criticizing others' work represented the worst aspects of white entitlement in the entertainment industry. 2. Burt Reynolds. The systematic exclusion of Richard Pryor from mainstream leading man roles crystallized around Burt Reynolds' effortless dominance of 1970s action comedy films, particularly the Smokey and the Bandit franchise that Pryor had originally been considered for before studio executives deemed him too controversial for broad audience appeal. Reynolds' unexamined privilege and casual acceptance of industry racism created lasting resentment in Pryor.
I come from criminal people. I will be a criminal. I didn't get caught yesterday.
Pryor watched with growing fury as Reynolds secured lucrative starring vehicles that showcased exactly the kind of irreverent humor and anti-authority attitude that defined Pryor's own comedic persona, yet were denied to him due to racial considerations. Burt got to play the charming outlaw, while Richard was typecast as the sidekick, observed director Hal Needham. The irony wasn't lost on Pryor that Reynolds often appropriated comedic styles pioneered by black performers. Their few encounters at industry functions revealed Reynolds' obliviousness to the advantages his appearance afforded him in Hollywood's commercial calculations. His casual dismissal of Pryor's complaints about limited opportunities reflected the broader white liberal tendency to minimize systemic discrimination while benefiting from its effects. Burt never understood that his success came partly from Richard's exclusion, noted casting director Marion Dougherty. The professional animosity deepened when Reynolds achieved box office dominance through roles that required minimal acting ability, while Pryor's superior talent remained confined to supporting parts and concert films. Reynolds' comfortable relationship with Southern audiences and conservative demographics represented markets that remained largely closed to Pryor, despite his broader comedic appeal. 1. John Belushi. The tragic relationship between Richard Pryor and John Belushi represented Hollywood's most destructive collision of talent and self-destruction, with their shared addiction struggles creating a toxic dynamic that exposed the industry's enabling of white performers while criminalizing black artists facing identical demons. Belushi's celebrated recklessness contrasted sharply with the consequences Pryor faced for similar behavior. Pryor's resentment toward Belushi stemmed from witnessing the younger performer receive unconditional support and endless second chances despite increasingly erratic behavior that would have ended any black actor's career immediately. John could show up drunken late, and executives would just laugh it off, revealed SNL producer Lorne Michaels. The double standard infuriated Pryor, who recognized his own struggles reflected in Belushi's spiral. Their collaborative attempts revealed fundamental differences in how the entertainment industry treated their respective addictions and professional failures. Belushi's destructive episodes became legendary anecdotes that enhanced his rebel image, while Pryor's similar incidents threatened his career prospects and financial stability. Richard saw how differently the system treated white and black self-destruction, observed comedian Robin Williams. The philosophical divide extended beyond substance abuse into their approaches to comedy and social responsibility. Belushi's privileged background allowed him to treat performance as extended adolescent rebellion, while Pryor understood his platform as crucial for exposing social injustice and racial truth. These conflicts expose the entertainment industry's racial double standards and systemic inequities that Pryor courageously challenged throughout his career. His revolutionary voice transformed comedy forever, despite facing constant discrimination. Subscribe for more stories about entertainment's most fearless truth tellers.